Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling.
All right.
Good evening, and welcome to the newest episode of the Black Irish Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Teasley, and with me, as always, the black man of the W2M network. I guess you could call him our token black man of the W2M network, Mr. Eric Watkins.
I prefer HNIC, thank you very much.
Yeah, but I'll get canceled if I say that. I'm sure that would offend somebody.
I mean,
because they would say that was offensive they would take the context completely out of it. We'd get canceled and Sean would get hate mail.
I mean,
you're not s.carmer@gmail.com.
I mean, you're not entirely wrong, although thankfully he would be the only one dealing with the hate mail, so there's that.
Oh well, that's always a plus. We always like to get Sean some hate mail, so this is going to be a new experience for us tonight, Eric. We're actually flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah.
When I say that, we're actually live.
I mean, believe it or not, this is only my second live broadcast ever. If you go back and listen to the Point of Viewer archives, also available on the W2M network, yeah, my first live broadcast was a 5-hour, yes, you heard that correctly, election night special. So, believe me, this is going to be a lot more interesting. And, well, you'll probably hear me get a little bit more pissed off just in this broadcast. We'll see.
Oh, I mean, I think tonight's episode is going to take on a new perspective. I mean, we've got a lot of topics to cover tonight. Kind of going with our theme of cancel culture in our second segment, and then of course we're going to definitely be pissing a lot of people off with our how we start and end the show. So with that being said, you ready to get into our first topic?
Let's do it.
All right. So, as many of you guys know, this past week there was, and let's call it a controversy because, to say the least, it's the most odd controversy I've ever seen. And people of my generation grew up with, and it surrounds a sequel to a movie that me and Eric kind of grew up watching, and involved a plethora of an all-star cast, huge name in sports at the time. Some questionable sports figures showed up because who the hell knows why they had some of those people in there. Some A-list celebrities show up in cameos.
In that defense, keep in mind for when the movie came out, you got to take that into play a teeny bit when it comes to some of the cameos.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we'll talk about that because one is I'm still scratching my head how to justify it. It had a A-list celebrity cameo. It had one of the biggest sports icons of my generation, and it has some beloved characters. Of course, we're talking about the movie Space Jam, who recently got a sequel starring LeBron James. And here's where the controversy comes in. If everybody remembers Space Jam, they had a female character named Lola Bunny, who was drawn very beautifully. and very voluptuous, and with a lot of curves, and modeled pretty much the standard of that time frame of a beautiful woman, but as an animated character, just like Jessica Rabbit was. What came out was Lola Bunny's redesign, and it has sparked a lot of controversy on the internet because they've toned down the sexualization that she's seen in the original Space Jam. So, Eric, uh, I'm sure you've watched the original Space Jam more than once, hopefully. So, first, I want to ask you, what is your take on the original, and how do you feel about this redesign? And then we'll get into a little discussion about it.
Okay, the original Space Jam was actually one of the first 3 or 4 movies that I'd ever seen in a movie theater. Right, one of the big ones, right at the mall near my house in town. Went to see Space Jam. It was phenomenal. And granted, me being me, but me being a young me, this was at the time to where I understood certain things. I mean, yes, the average 9-year-old wouldn't stay up on New Year's and watch Cinemax for the Emmanuel in Space Marathon, but at the same time, I wasn't your average 9-year-old, so there's that. So when it came to the introduction of Lola and her part in the plot and all of that, I completely understood it. Nothing ever really crossed my mind in any sort of particular perverse way. It went with it. It made total sense. And there were a couple of other scenes in the original Space Jam. If you saw the original game with the Monstars, a couple of other funny, kind of cheeky moments, as it were. So I get exactly why the animators did it, and it made sense. Now, with this reboot, this sequel, do I dig the uniforms? You're damn right I do. If there was ever like a new Toon Squad jersey, one of those come up on sale, I'd find my way, maybe use part of my stimulus if I have to go get it. I'm not ashamed. The design, the plot line, and everything around it, I love it. It's updated, but still pays justice to the original. With the characters, nothing, just about everything except for Lola, still the same, great. Now, when it comes to the whole Lola redesign, I'm honestly on the fence. Sitting here with the changes in our landscape when it comes to women's sports and athletes and all that, we've come a long way the past couple of decades. You look at, especially just in basketball, how the WNBA is now versus it being not even thought of or just going into its infancy in the mid 90s. There's still a long way to go, but they've still come a long ways. So I get that you would want proper representation in seeing Lola as the athlete that she's supposed to be, even though, let's face it, did she do a whole bunch in the original? Not really. But at the same time, it's like, why would you go ahead and mess with something to the point that, realistically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? It's one of those things that, yes, do I see the reasoning behind why you did it? Absolutely. But if you look at it, was that really so necessary? Especially since it was going to be talked about either way? Yeah, am I more curious as to see Lola's plotline in the sequel? Yes, to see what exactly she does, because if it's closer to the original, then this was much ado about jack shit, at least to me.
Well, this is my issue with it. I'm going to play devil's advocate because I'm totally against the redesign. Because, one, like you said if it's not broke, don't fix it. But this is my issue with it is in the original Space Jam, you had Lola, who was a very beautiful love interest that they put in there for Bugs, obviously, who's never seen any kind of love interest throughout all the Warner Brother cartoons, which is really surprising. So this is how Lola got introduced. She had a very form-fitting jersey, and she's probably one of, if not the most recognizable character of the Space Jam movie. Uh, you see around Halloween, you see millions of slutty girls, and yes, because they slutty it up. Everybody knows it's college girls that wear the sexy, slutty. And yes, I'm going to say slutty because that's what it is. And yes, I own a daughter, so go fuck off. Uh, uh, Outfit to draw that attention because they did it in a tasteful way, but it's that. So you're taking apart one of the main focal characters that is recognized in that movie. Secondly, the fact that they done it and the justification that I've read is, oh, well, we don't want her to be too sexualized. We don't want to be. So you have to ugly her down, meaning that, and I mean, me and you are sports addicts, Eric. I've
Absolutely.
watched college. I've watched female basketball. I've watched women's softball. So this redesign saying, well, if you're attractive, to me, it comes off as, well, if you're attractive, you can't participate in sports, which I totally disagree with. I've seen some very beautiful women that have played sports, and I think that's also was meant in the original Space Jam. And this could be my interpretation of it, which everybody's entitled to their opinion. And it was showing that because you did have girls out there that may have thought that they were supposed to be, because of the way they looked, because they was attractive, that they were supposed to be cheerleaders, and they were just supposed to be a focal point of sideline candy, I guess is a good term to use, instead of being out there and being a focal point in participating. So that's why I think that taught a lot of people, because it shows that you don't have to, you can be beautiful and you can and be active in sports. And then I think that they done this down, and I'm going to go out on a limb. I think it's going to be even cause more controversy, because when it comes out, the design they have has pretty much stereotyped any female playing sports. She's very drab. She's very kind of, I guess, meek. I guess you could say. Gone is her physique that she had, her figure, and she just kind of looks like a real tomboyish character that happens to be a female. And I think that they're going to spin this, and they're not going to make her a, I guess you could say, a traditional female in this. And I'm just going to tread on that lightly, because we're going to talk about we're going to go into something a little bit later on the show, how we're about a certain movement that has caught fire over the past couple of weeks. So I just want to see your take about your reaction to what I just said. Do you feel that they've desexualized Lola to make it look more of a, you have to you have to look a certain way to be a participant in sports, or do you feel I'm completely off base?
I mean, I can't say completely, but there's a little bit, because now when you're saying, oh, you have to look a certain way to be in sports, that's kind of the overcorrection from a lot of body image just with girls and women in general and women in sports going back to the 90s. And I'm right there with you as far as someone who's watched women's sports, women's softball. I cover women's soccer on Soccer to the Max. I've watched all kinds of different things with women's sports, and a bit of a women's sports historian, very slightly, going back to the comparisons between women's sports and men's sports, and even saw different issues coming up in something like baseball, the original women's professional baseball league circa World War II. Going from there to even the athletes' uniforms, which for the first season or two were skirt based. Yeah, I could see issues with being rough and tumble in baseball, but I also understood that, especially back then. And all the different campaigns with the players going out very feminine, makeup and getting their hair done to say, hey, they're ladies who play baseball, but they're also ladies. And even with the big controversy with the English women's soccer team about 10-ish years ago, that exact comment. Yes, they're ladies playing soccer, but let's remember they're ladies. Now you're going to have the argument to where a lot of the jokes are going to come out about, female athletes participating in all these sports, the vast majority of them being lesbians. There are some, more power to them, great. But when you get to the point to where that becomes a stereotype, and speaking from someone who knows a thing or two about stereotypes, you're going to get into something much more problematic. So, in my mind, you're a bit right. And I personally see it as, okay, you're avoiding one problem, one hornet's nest. Now, especially for those who grew up with this movie who are going to watch it, some with their kids, you're potentially walking into another hornet's nest. If you were going to do something, you went too far.
Yeah, so this is what I was speaking with earlier. You kind of set the demographic because I mean society as a whole has a preconceived notion of female athletes as it exists already. I mean, my niece plays softball. My niece is a big softball star. I know that the tropes of female softball players are all. A lot of people assume they are um, gay, lesbian, or otherwise. So I know that from a fact. But you have this stereotype look. So I mean, if you was to put without any context, put the two pictures of Lola Bunny side by side and ask which one was a basketball player, or which one do you feel would be straight, or do you feel either one of these would be straight? They would automatically go to the older version. And I guarantee you, just on the eyeball test, somebody's going to say the new version is calling into question their sexual preference, and it's and
Mm hmm.
this is what I don't understand. Comics, cartoons, comics, everything for years has put in stuff geared toward kids to build up and to show different aspects of things. I think this is going to be one of those instances you're going to have a belief forced upon an audience due to a character's design.
I can't entirely say forced, although I see where you're coming from a bit. It's something that is supposed to generate a lot of conversations. And in the end, a lot of times that's a good thing. It's just you're not going to have a lot of people comfortable with generating those conversations. And you're also going to have other people generating the wrong kinds of conversations, which is only going to exacerbate the problem. And it's another one of those going back, six of one, half dozen of the other. Would you rather these conversations come about organically based upon minimal effort on your part, where you could go ahead and create educational experiences, or would you want to have these conversations come out semi-organically by putting your thumb on the scale? And as the saying goes, if you've done something right, it'll look like you haven't done anything at all. This isn't the case here.
Well, this is my theory. Like I said, I'm a parent. Uh, if if I'm wanting to have certain discussions with my child as a parent, I need to have the discussion on my terms. One being anything dealing with sex and sexual preference and all that. Dealing with that as a parent, as a father, I need to be having those conversations with my child.
Especially
Not,
as a girl dad in your case. I get that.
yes, not having those conversations forced and creating more confusion because that's what it will lead to. Because you have, and this is going to sound really off the rails with me, because you have a set of beliefs, standards, and um, morals um, in every family. How I raise my kid is not going to be how somebody else raises their kid. What I let my kid do, somebody else might not like. Somebody else might frown upon it. But she's my kid. I dictate everything that goes on in her life until she's old enough to make those decisions on her own. When she happens to that, once she becomes a grown adult, then she can make decisions on her own. But until that day, until that point in time, I'm going to influence her life. This is a great conversation that me and Mark Radlich had just recently on our coverage of Coming to America 2. We talked about something similar to this, about the warnings that they're putting in front of certain movies, kind of like we discussed a while back on the Rush Hour 2 thing. Me and Mark kind of went into it because it came back up here recently on Turner Movie Classic. But I feel that anything that if my child has questions, I want them to come to me because I know how to deal with my child. You can't release a blanket statement because everybody doesn't understand and comprehend things the same way. Um, this Somebody can listen to this podcast and listen to mine and your interactions and think that me and you are two pieces of shit that don't actually have a friendship, or that we just don't give a fuck, and that there's a racial tension between me and you, when that can be the furthest thing from the truth. Me and you joke around. Me and you have that
That
bond between
rapport.
us.
Mhm.
Uh, my daughter knows the rapport me and you have, and you know, and if she was like, "Well, why do you joke around with Eric that way?" I mean, I could set her down and say, "Look, me and Eric, we have built that trust in our relationship to have those conversations, to make those jokes, and it's okay. Now, don't don't take the relationship from me and Eric as you could go out and make the same jokes to another person of color. That doesn't give you free reign.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have to
that
have
would lead to some weird situations.
you you have to have that rapport. You have to build that rapport with that trust with that person. Just like a conversation about sex. Do you think a generalized comment, uh, basically about sex and gender identification, fits everything? No, because you're going to have questions, and the questions might lead into a lot of self-doubt, a lot of confusion, which can complicate things when you're talking, making the conversation. That's why I think society today needs to learn that parents need to be the focal point in the child's life. Things don't need to be forced upon children until the parent is ready to have that conversation. I mean, hell, my daughter's 13 years old, still believes in Santa Claus, I believe. I don't know. But it's going to be my job to tell her no, not society's job. Just like when she gets into a relationship, which I'm scared to death, it's going to be my job or my wife's job to have that conversation about dating. We'll say that because I'm not really ready to discuss that aspect in any other terms. Uh, so that's going to fall to me and my wife. I don't. She doesn't need to be learning about it on a TV show. She doesn't need to be learning about it on, through music, which is something we're going to get into next. She needs to learn about it. Everything starts at home and everything. So with this, do I really care? I mean, does it boil down to do I care about the redesign? No, it doesn't affect me. Can I see the part of the outrage? Yes. Now we're going to go into a whole different flip side of the outrage here in just a second. But it's one of those things that I took it as, and this is all about interpretation. I took it as they're basically making this character that was once beautiful and as an athlete, and we're going to get, once we get into this next little bit, it's going to go off the rails. And taking her and basically making her more homely so she's more accepted to play sports. And that was my interpretation. And everybody's going to interpret it different.
And I'm glad that you touched on this because I've got a couple of anecdotes. One, myself personally, and the other, kind of similar situation in my own family life. With me personally, I'm going to take two particular women's tennis players, Maria Sharapova and Simona Halep. How did I know about Maria Sharapova? Well, as teenage me, when she was first, up and coming in the world of tennis, when I was always, because my sleep schedule completely weird back then as it was now, I was up 6 o'clock in the morning and I would watch Mike and Mike on ESPN2 when they were on 6 to 10. And always during those first couple of hours, they had commercials for speed mitten. Maria Sharapova, she was like the main spokesperson for the speed mitten, equipment. And I'm thinking, holy shit, she's hot. And I'm like, well, Anna Kournikova, who came before her, was hot, but mediocre at tennis to shit at worst. Sharapova comes along, holy shit, she can play. Holy shit, she's winning major tournaments. All these things, great. Someone who, if I'm late at night and I'm sitting by myself, I've got all my equipment and stuff, she pops into my head, it's going to be a pleasant experience. And I get that bonus. And then, some years later, just in like the past few years, Simona Halep. Well, how did I know about Simona Halep? And this is going to piss a lot of people off right now. Be forewarned. How I knew about her? Tennis player with enormous tits. I'm thinking, if there's anybody that I would pay to watch a tennis tournament, it would be her. Because of her tits. Gonna say that. Now, she goes along, gets a breast reduction. Does it help her play? Some would say yes. Number one player, also winning major tournaments. Me personally, as chauvinist as this sounds, I became a lot less interested. Because I'm like, okay, she is another good tennis player, which there are quite a few good, great, all-time tennis players that I've seen, men and women, but it's just like, not that extra appeal, someone who I wouldn't have to focus on. So you're going to have a lot of people with my point of view at that. So it's like, okay, I'm seeing all of this, and I get an extra bonus, rather than just everything as it was. Now, when going to my family life, like you with your daughter, I've got a nephew. He will be 13 next month. I've had conversations with my sister. Something in particular came up. I won't go into exactly what. She let me know, and she said, hey, this is going on. I want to let you know. Start preparing to have the talk. And I'm like, okay. I will do my best to not make it completely weird. But, Jason, at the end of the day, you know me. We've had our interactions and stuff. You know how I operate. I'm going to lay out a whole bunch of stuff on the table. And especially with what happened, I feel a little bit more qualified because there's some certain subtle nuances that I can explain. But like with you, I feel I'm the most qualified among anybody in his circle and my family because I can explain these nuances, not only give him the correct information based on my ability, but make it feel okay with him. So that way it's normalized with him rather than being seen as something freakish. And I say that to say this. You understand and are taking that burden when it comes to your daughter and everything dating, down the road sexuality, all these things, so that way she's not misinformed. I am taking that burden with my nephew. So that way, especially guiding in a completely different landscape, even to the one I grew up in, he will be won't be misinformed. He will get along, be all these things. I think the reason why sometimes society feels the need to step in and introduce these conversations to begin with, you have very few people like the two of us that understand and are willing to sit down and have those conversations and have our kids come to us, as I'm even waiting for my nephew to come to me, or even respecting my sister's wishes, because she was like, hey, this never happened. Don't per se mention it to him, but if he comes to you, you go ahead. That's fine. We know in our minds this is something that has to happen. And from what a lot I've seen, you don't have a lot of parents willing to step up. The vast majority will be like, oh, you learn from TV, you learn from movies and all this and that. That's a whole other situation I'm not a big fan of because you're primed to send the exact wrong message. So I feel I get why they wanted to do it and step in, but not only should they not have to, just for a lot of mistakes, as you see, you're getting the consequences from it.
Yeah, and just to cap that off is the kind of, this is something we actually do agree on. Uh, you have parents that don't want to be parents. They want they want to live vicariously through their kids, and they don't want to take the responsibility of being the quote unquote adult in their child's life. So they leave things to TV, the internet, and everything to fill that void and teach kids the uncomfortable things that the parents should be teaching. And do I want to have that? Do me or my wife want to have any conversation regarding dating and sexuality and anything like that with our daughter? No. Will we? Yes, because that's our duty as a parent. Now, this is where this goes totally off the rails with this Lola Bunny thing. And I'm not going to stay on it too long because it actually is really disturbing. Um, the the biggest outcry of the change in design is from the dark corners of the internet, where you have these people that have done concept fan art of this animate a character that is highly, highly, highly sexualized, as if she was nude in promiscuous situations and stuff, and not just as the character that you see in the movie. And this is the outrage that we're seeing, is because people are actually coming out of their dark corners of the internet and showing the really sick side of society. And this goes back to the whole, being parents thing, is because you have to also protect your children from this, uh, as well as, and it's not even children. Sometimes you got to protect yourself, because some of this stuff is really fucking creepy.
Oh, trust me. You know my levels of seediness. You know what I'm into and where I go. Some of these things are even too seedy for me. That alone is saying something. And that's why I say it's like, yeah, I'm willing to educate on certain things, but if you're going into the deep, back alley, those kinds of recesses, I'm like, even I'm someone, let's steer away from here. Here's a little bit of why, etc., etc. So, if you're not, and I'm the kind of person, like, if you're not really hurting everyone, everything is consensual and legal, go for it. But at the same time, it's not everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody's going to be chill with it either. So that's another tightrope to walk.
All right. So one last question. I want to make it simple, where we don't have to expound on it. Does the redesign kind of portray a type of body shaming in from a uh, perspective of Warner Brothers? Just basically yes or no, because I feel it does.
I'm gonna be honest, no. To me, it really doesn't.
Okay, and we're both, and this is what's great about this. We both have our own opinions. We don't always have to agree. As someone stated, that me and you typically agree. So I just wanted to give that person a little shout out, a little nudge, nudge, wink, wink, because I know my your stance on that, and that's what this show's about, is the fact that me and you can highly have intellectual conversations for two vastly different standpoints, and we don't have to agree, but it changes nothing about the dynamic. So, you want to know what else does not change?
It's
Cancel culture.
oh this oh
And before we get into our next installment here on the Black Irish Network, you can look up our next feature artist on Amazon Music.
mighty popular artist, and I mean, if you're looking at all kinds of depth and breadth, just a wide variety of music, either podcast or whatever tickles your fancy, let's face it, Amazon Music is a pretty damn good place to go.
And you could also not only listen to your favorite artists and podcasts, you could actually find, the archives of the Black Irish and every other show here on the W2M network, such as Black Irish, The Kickoff, which you have me and Eric and our other two hosts, Harry and Kennedy, the mother killer, um, as well as
I thought,
the
wait a minute, I
Ravager Brain.
thought we agreed on Grim Reaper.
Well, yeah. But to get that reference, go back and listen to the latest episode of The Kickoff. We love you, Kennedy. Just some more than others. Also, you can listen to all the shows such as Damn You Hollywood, Long Road to Ruin, and Metal Hammer of Doom that is produced by the Radley Jim Broadcasting Network, where you could also find my latest appearance there on the review of Coming to America 2.
And let's just not forget, we got to give everybody some love, you know. We mentioned on the kickoff our other host, Randy Isbell, him going ahead and doing his local radio show on klcz.com, KLCZ Radio, if you happen to be in that part of the country around Lewiston, Idaho. He also has a show here on the W2M network that you can listen to, Chapter Select. They just did their whole venture through the Resident Evil movie franchise. More power to them. So, yeah, we got a lot of diversity. And if you happen to have an Alexa-powered device, you just go, "Hey, Alexa, play W2M Network." You get the latest show, wham bam, at your fingertips. And you want to get in on this? Take advantage of a little bit of an offer, browse around. All you got to do is just go to getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network. You'll get the ball rolling.
And with that, we're back into talking about where you can find this next artist, which is a highly, highly controversial and talented lyricist that I grew up with, that is now seeing the backlash of the cancel culture movement. You can go on Amazon Music and ask to hear all of Eminem's greatest hits, because that's where we're going next. Sir Marshall Mathers has found himself in a bit of familiar territory. One of the most talented lyricists, and I won't say rapper because he is a lyrical genius, in my personal opinion, has found himself in the center of a controversial impact going around on social media. With that being said, a lot of people have came out about the song with Rihanna. I can't think of the name of it right off, Eric. Do you
This
happen to know
isn't
it?
Monster, is it?
No, it's let me see. Rihanna. Love the Way You Lie. Um, where which is not one of his most controversial songs.
Oh,
Uh,
hell no,
uh,
not in the slightest.
and it's really weird because you attack Eminem, and this is where we're going to have a very big discussion, because I'm more of a conservative. Eric falls on the other side of the fence, but back last summer ish and last year, Eminem came out and was doing all these diss tracks supporting, the liberal movement and everything, and like going off and had some very harsh words toward the conservative side of the nation. But then, fast forward to this year, the people he was defending are now the people that are screaming to have him canceled. So I find it a bit ironic, is because the voices that he isolated half of his audience due to his political opinions, and now the side that he sided with is the ones that's coming after him. So, I just want to hear your opinions and get a discussion rolling here, Eric.
Now, number one, and the songs and lyrics that come to my head most with Eminem and how he is just throughout his career, I'm going way back to like his song Without Me. He literally, some of the lyrics says, "Though I'm not the first king of controversy, I am the worst thing since Elvis Presley to do black music so successfully and use it to get myself wealthy." That's number one. He gets it. And even his big song, White America, how he even talks about, hey, wait a minute, is the color of my skin maybe coming to my benefit? So he gets it. Even though him growing up, everything was like his culture in Detroit, right on 8 Mile, so he knows how that part of life is. I get, and in some ways I do appreciate Eminem, like, with his political views, because let's face it, he's already set the table in his career. He is not going to be a certain way for everybody. This is who he is. This is how he operates. If you don't like it, basically fuck off. And he wasn't the only one to come out with a lot of songs. I mean, you look at my Spotify list, or you could go on to Amazon Music right now, and you will see both parts 1 and 2 of Fuck Donald Trump. It'll be listed as FDT. For those of you, even if you isolate it, they're bangers. But you listen to pay attention to the lyrics, you know all of those artists on what side they lean on. So I get it. I don't know why, after all of this and showing you where he is, where he comes from, and all of that, you decide that you want to go and cancel him now? All of these things, and with all of this cancel culture, yes, the famous, like, a quote from the Bible and wherever you hear the leopard doesn't change his spots. But if you look at a person throughout their life, there's going to be it very minimal, or in some cases tremendous, some level of growth and evolution. And with all the ways that we judge people on our initial image when they first come out of onto the scene, be it in whatever facet of entertainment, however they break in, what they do at the beginning is how people will see them forever. I don't like that. You know who he was, you know how he is, you love him. Why are you turning on him now when he was doing a lot of things really to help you and amplify a lot of voices? To me, that inherently is stupid.
And let's not forget, this is Eminem, who made a diss track that made a wannabe rap artist, a highly popular rap artist, basically go and change his entire genre of music and get out of the rap game because of the diss track that Eminem put out. And we're talking about Machine Gun Kelly. And we're also talking about Eminem, who made a fucking song, 97 Bonnie and Clyde, about him and his daughter at the time, Haley, disposing of his ex-wife and Haley's mother's body.
Real quick, I can even one-up you on that. Everybody's saying nowadays, oh, we Stan. Where did Stan come from, you ask? Eminem's song about a fan, and he even referenced him in other songs in the exact opposite way. Total crazed fan who wound up killing himself and his pregnant girlfriend. So, sorry. At the end of the day, does he really give a fuck? Anything is fair game if it will create some damn good music. Plus, pay attention to the lyrics from Same Song and Dance. I love it, but holy shit, you're not going to cancel him over that, but you are now. Think carefully, people.
And, I mean, then you got, like, songs like Kim, who preceded 97 Bonnie and Clyde. That is like telling the prequel to about the mythological murder of his ex-wife and Haley's mom. And then we go to the lovely, you got the lovely Marshall Mathers that released in 2000, where a lot of homophobic slurs were uttered across this, and Mostly toward Insane Clown Posse. I mean, there's nobody that Eminem that is safe with Eminem. He will go after anybody if he feels like it. I mean, he stepped on the scene, and his biggest song started out, "Hey kids, do you like violence?" That's what put him on the map. With "My Name Is," uh, and the album cover shows his daughter with him on a pier dumping a body. This guy is the center of controversy since he stepped onto the scene. He is the white knight, I guess you could say, and yeah, I'm going to say it that way, of controversy. He comes hard, and the only thing this is doing is this generation is just helping promote him even more, because our generation is going to finally have enough and start pushing back even more than what they have. And it's going to become a clusterfuck of everything, because this cancel culture bullshit, where does it stop?
And and I'm glad that you kind of put it that way right at the tail end, because you're very like on the younger side of Generation X. Me, I'm on the far side of millennials, and with our respective generations helping, your Gen Z and what have you, everybody remarks, well, why is Gen Z so savage in all of these things? Well, it's because, to some extent Gen X and a lot of extent me as my generation as millennials, we help teach them these ways. But looking at the monster that we have brought onto the world, it's like Dr. Frankenstein's monster. I don't entirely like it, and sometimes I see the younger generation and I'm like, yeah, look at everything that we have and the ways that we taught you and what you're doing with it. Sometimes I think, yes, it's great. Yes, this gives me hope. There's a couple, when our time is up, toss the keys and say, you run the world, you're doing a good job. And then there's others, I just want to smack in the mouth with a 2x4. It's like, no, 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 no. This is wrong. Stop it. And cancel
Yeah,
culture is just one of those things. I'm like, no, calm down. Tone down the butthurt a few notches.
I mean, do I agree with everything Eminem stands for? No. Does that take away from his music? No. I was bumping Eminem in my 96 S10 that I took to stereo competitions that was hitting like 143 decimals. And I had 10 grand of stereo equipment. So again, I was bumping
Don't sit
Eminem.
here. You were really that guy. You were that guy.
Yes, I was that guy.
Ugh.
With bleach, and I had blonde highlights, had the surfer dude. My hair, I had it parted down the middle and it came down to about my mouth, shaved underneath, samurai style. Yeah, I was that kid.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I'm pretty sure
I've
I
showed.
also saw pictures of you with the frosted tips. I'm like, okay, he went that far. I didn't expect
Yeah,
you to
I
go
mean,
that far.
I showed you and Harry a couple of my early day pictures, but that's it. It was music to that,
Oh, yeah.
and when he came onto the scene, a lot of his angst and anger spoke to a generation. Him and Dr. Dre collaborating together was fucking phenomenal. I mean, it took some of the rap game into a different. It elevated it. So I don't understand this. Now you're like you said, you're now having the people that Eminem supported coming after him. So this one brings up my next point of this is, do you feel that as a celebrity that you need to stick to what you know and stay the fuck out of stuff you don't know, such as politics, unless you are very well versed? on what you're speaking about.
And I'm glad you brought this up because of the whole, and again, going back to sports, the LeBron versus Zlatan Ibrahimovic thing. If you don't know, don't say anything. Take the time to learn. The reason why I appreciate people like LeBron James is because he does his research. He always sees what's going on, and before he does anything, he takes those calculations and say, "All right, I know what I'm putting out there, how it's going to do. Let me do my research and make sure that what I'm doing is good and effective." And he does. And at the same time, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. You know him from soccer, now with AC Milan, Manchester United. Played here in the States with Los Angeles Galaxy. The image was the Zlatan, I am a god on the soccer pitch, that's it. You may have heard him talk about racism in his native Sweden once, and he's the one saying, "Oh, you should do what only you're good at and stick to sports." Well, to that I say with Zlatan, that's what you're good at. You're great at doing that and you're sticking to that. But if you've got someone who does put in the time and effort to learn all of these things, to be able to speak out on these topics, you go right ahead and do it. Because I want to listen from your learned experience. If you're just going to be ignorant or stupid or pop off at the mouth just to get your name out there, shut up. Just shut up. That'll be okay. Nobody's going to take it against you. If you step up and you actually know a few things and stay silent, that's going to be something against you as well. So, to answer your question, I agree. If you don't know, shut up until you learn. And if you learn, go ahead. Be careful what you say, because a lot of people are going to listen.
Yeah, I mean that. I want to murder this quote. Um, it goes back to the quote. Oh, by Abraham Lincoln. It's better to remain silent and be thought of as a fool than speak and remove all doubt. Uh,
That you nailed it.
what that pretty much says is you shouldn't be speaking on something you're not well educated with, because you may get over your head and make yourself sound stupid. Uh, People can think what they want. People have a preconceived notion about you. It's a given. If they think you're idiotic and moronic, let them. Don't open your mouth and speak and give them validation of them. Uh, a lot of people think, if they just listen to me and Eric on kickoff, they probably think me and him are two fucking goofballs. But when we tackle serious stuff on here, and like on our previous episodes, we kind of shed the goofy side of things that we have fun with, and we tackle some real serious topics on a really philosophical banter. So, with that being said, um, this is my problem: is you have so many people coming out that say, "I support this, I support this," but they don't live by what they support. And you have these people saying, "Oh, I'm not going to support this person because they're on this side politically," or that's just alienating your fan base. To me, I don't give a fuck if you're Democrat, Republican, LBTQ plus, black, white, Hispanic, Asian. I don't give a fuck. If you're listening to my podcast, you're supporting me, and I greatly appreciate that, because that's what it takes. It takes us all supporting each other to grow as a society. The division we're seeing is something that needs to stop, because people, and this is a good example, and I'm using this as an example, uneducated people are speaking on things that are pushing a narrative. And when you push a narrative, Because you have that clout, because you have that platform, you're going to have sheep that follow. We've said this before, education is the most dangerous tool a society can have. Because if you can think on your own and you can do the research and form a well thought out opinion, then you're not a sheep anymore. You have a solid. We're given free will. We're giving the education and we're given the resources. But I'm going to say 75% of this country neglects that and follows one side or the other blindly.
I completely agree. In this, even as you were bringing that up, I immediately thought South Park. Trey Parker, Matt Stone, they even said many, many years ago that uneducated people shouldn't be able to vote. That was much less of a firestorm then than it would be now, but I thought to myself back then, and that stuck with me. I go ahead and I vote because there were so many people before me that fought and died and had all kinds of horrible things done to them just so I could go ahead one way or another and cast my ballot. But at the same time, when I do, before I do, I go ahead and learn everything I possibly can. Sometimes I will catch shit for it. Sometimes I will have a lot of different conversations. But I take that time. Sometimes it's a couple of days. Sometimes it's as long as a month or even more. But I know, hey, when I go ahead and I check that box, I mail in that ballot, or I stand in that booth, I'm like, I know going in what is going to be best for me and what is going to align with me and what's going to get done. And that should go across the board with a lot of different things. Don't just listen to the people that say think for yourself but tell you what you really should think, and actually take some time, unplug, whatever, read, think, all these things, and truly think for yourself. Because guess what? You start doing that, you'll be damn surprised. Guaranteed.
All right, and as we wrap up, I'm going to ask a highly controversial question that that base goes off this and goes right along with this. I think there should be and this is going to sound really fucked up, a basic civics test given before you can vote to make you eligible to vote. Because I've seen so many, and I've talked to so many people that do not know basic civics. They don't know how many states are in the United States. They don't know who the current president is. I watched a video the other day. A girl was arguing with a gentleman about Bernie Sanders being the president of the United States, and that she's glad that he took office and that Donald Trump is out and Bernie Sanders is now the president of the United States. And when she was told that she was wrong, did she think that, take a step back and say, oh, I misspoke, that's who I voted for? No, her voice elevated. It turned into her screaming, saying that she's being oppressed and being attacked because of who she voted for and everything. I think the whole political thing, and we're going to tackle this hardcore on one full episode. I think that you need to have some kind of general knowledge, and this goes back to our education system failing our children, of basic operations of the country that you live in.
Have a civics test. Teach civics and government in schools. I was lucky enough, my freshman year of high school, I had a government class, right? Forestville High School, Forestville, Maryland. It's South Forestville Military Academy. Well, my teacher, still fond of and remember him to this day, Mr. Douglas Brown. Shout out Mr. Brown wherever you are. He was a great teacher, and that his class and what the school did as part of the state to where seniors got election day. Well, election day was a holiday. So that way those seniors, whenever it was 18, you could go, not have to worry about going to school and go vote. That was tremendous because had it not been for that class, I would have been so much more blind and going to the wilderness. But that set me the foundations for how government works, checks and balances, what certain things mean, and not just the Schoolhouse Rock song for how a bill becomes a law. It went so much beyond that, so that way I can turn around and when I watch C-SPAN and stuff, I can go and educate people. Say, hey, this is how it works. These are the policies, these changes, things like that. And I'm still learning things, but it just builds upon my base rather than going from scratch.
And you know what else would help a lot of people show that they're intelligent? You know, when you're writing emails or, you know, basic messages, if you use Grammarly.com.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, let's face it, the way that we communicate has changed. And especially during these troubling times where we're not able to get together as much as we want to, as much as we can, at least for the time being. Everything is looking like it's on a better track. But if you're just sending a message like a casual email, whether it be to a friend across town or a loved one that may be over an ocean away or in a completely different time zone, you want to be sure that you show the right message and how you care and show all of that meaning. And with Grammarly.com and the Grammarly app in Chrome and in standalone, you get to convey that message. So you...
Also,
Oh, go ahead.
I said also you can use Grammarly when you're looking for something, that special email that you have to send to someone that you're missing. It helps you find those words that express those emotions, and you can convey your thoughts onto a email just to reach out to somebody that may not be near to let them know how much they mean to you and how much they're missing you. You're
Abs-
missing them.
Absolutely. So it's not for all the things so much extra that it does. Will it help you with your resume? Absolutely. If you're writing an article or for a movie review or a show and it's something written, Grammarly can help that too. It's just such a wide variety of ways. And we're not even talking like your basic spell check either. No, 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 no. Subtle textures, nuances, hundreds of complex errors. Grammy will pour over it and say, hey, this should be this. This word is better here. You're using this tone. You want to say this. Can I help gauge with these things? Grammarly is such a lifesaver. Now, you might be wondering, Jason, we're sitting here talking about Grammarly. Should we go ahead and tell people how they can go and get it? Should we hook them up, let them in on the big secret?
Yeah, you definitely. We want to let you in because just as a personal experience, Grammarly just helped me earlier today when I was writing. I had to fill out some essay questions for a promotion that I just applied for. So I think that we need to let our listeners know how they can also take advantage of this wonderful offer from Grammarly.com.
Well, in that case, I'm going to tell them. All you have to do, go to your computer, your phone, whatever device, go to getgrammarly.com slash W2M network. If you're on the computer, you go ahead, you sign up, you can download all the software and stuff you need, you can get the ball rolling, and trust me, your writing will never be the same. Again, getgrammarly.com slash W2M network. Take advantage of a little special offer that we're just throwing out there for you because we try to be good like that.
Yeah, so that moves us on with our rounding out our final topic of the day, which we were supposed to have a lovely lady for International Women's Day, join us, and that was our lovely and talented co-host from the kickoff, Kennedy, um, who would probably join us to talk about my dead mother, but we was really going to,
Now.
because this is.
To be fair, she probably read the tweet from Burger King UK that said women belong in the kitchen. Okay? We need to give her
Yeah, we're
some
not.
sort of credit.
Yeah, that was totally clickbait, and I wasn't even going to acknowledge that piece of crap that was taken way out of context. But me and Kennedy had a somewhat little debate about our views on this, and I was really hoping that she could join us to talk about this. And that is the new um, movement that you're seeing on social media, such as Twitter, TikTok, and everything, and it's called the Super Straight Movement. So, have you heard of this, Eric?
I'm going to be honest, no. And to be further honest, listening to your previous interludes about it, I am sort of scared.
So, what it is this kid? I'm going to say kid because he's younger than. He's probably more than 5 to 10 years younger than me. Made a TikTok video. He was being attacked because he was called homophobic and stuff in one of his videos. So he said that he was going to start identifying as super straight, and that was his preference, is because he wanted to identify as a super straight individual, which means that he is of hetero preference that does like having intercourse and is attracted to the opposite sex. And this kind of started gaining ground, and then it blew up. Now that they have designed a super straight flag. They want People are saying there's going to be a super straight month and everything. But the irony of this is people coming out saying stuff against it, and his stance is using the logic that other people have used against them, and that's how this all started. Because he said, "Are you not saying that you're not accepting of my sexual preference? Why are you being? Why are you? Why are you coming out? And why are you bashing me for my sexual preference?" And so he's using all the tropes against the opposing side, and they're pissed off about it. Which I'm a hetero male. I'm married. I've got a daughter. And do I feel that I need to state that? No. But do I see the logic behind this? Yes. Because it is taking this whole movement of everybody accusing Steve, you're transphobic, you hate gays, you hate this, you hate that. Oh, you're misogynistic and everything, and it's taking that and flipping it and putting a mirror right in front of it and showing people how ridiculous that is. Because that's like the movement, the thing that came out. I don't know if it was a TikTok video, a YouTube video, or something. Um, Somebody was asked if they would date a trans female. They said no, and they got attacked. I mean, they got drug in the comments saying they was transphobic because they would not date a trans person. And this is basically the counter argument of that, and taking it, like I said, taking a mirror and putting it in front and showing that side and those people that making those claims how ridiculous it is to sit and judge people because they don't believe the same way you do, that you're homophobic, you're transphobic, you're this, you're that, and the other. But then when it's turned back on you, you're defensive and you call it stupid and you call it ignorant, and you have thousands of ways to talk about how bad it is when it applies, when the terms apply to you, but support it wholly when you're the one making the accusations.
I mean, I've actually had to use this phrase recently with something else in an entirely different scope. But I'm going to use this now. Doing the wrong thing for the absolute right reasons. I'm with you in that this kind of a reckoning needed to happen in a sense. And I'm right with that particular person. Yes, I am a cisgender man. I am heterosexual. I'm pretty low on the Kinsey scale. I will admit I'm not exactly a 0, but I think at best I'm only like a 2 out of 10. And if you want to know about the Kinsey scale in that particular spectrum, look it up. It's quite fascinating. But does that mean would I go ahead and date a transgender female? No. That's not part of my interest. That's not something that has ever really appealed to me. And I get that because not everybody's going to appeal the same way to different things. So with all of this to say, hey, look at what you're doing, look at what you're calling for all this transphobia, homophobia, this, taking it way too far, I get that that spotlight needed to be turned around back on them. My big worry about this, however, a lot of movements that can start out completely with some sort of positive meaning and can create a lot of good dialogue can go terribly far south. I have used the phrase before, ideological terrorists. Someone who could easily come in, and especially with the proliferation of social media and all kinds of different thought bubbles, they're going to see this super straight movement and pervert it to something idiotic, terrifying, whatever. And this is going to sound weird. I'm probably way off base, and if I am, you, Jason, can enlighten me. Reach out to me on Twitter. Anybody like listening now or to replay at Squid Sportshead or what have you. Let's have a chat about this so I can come correct. But I'm hearing this in a lot of ways, and it screams to me almost like the beginnings of the incel movement. Someone who is like, oh, because I can't go out and fuck and all this and that. What's going on with this? All these other guys are doing it and I'm not, and yada yada yada, and then all of a sudden it turns into a gigantic crusade against women. This is potentially going to open a very large box, and I don't like it. If this could be shut down right now, great for me, because it's one of those things that can really explode, and then we're going to be dealing with those consequences. I get the original meaning behind it and all of these things, absolutely fine, but knowing society today, I'm in the minority in that.
I think it opens up a very slippery slope. You're going to have this twisted. You're going to have a lot of things misconstrued. And I was speaking to one of my gay friends not long ago, and it wasn't about this. We were just talking about the topic we spoke about previously about uh, transitioning males being able to compete in female athlete, because she's a former female athlete, and we was talking about it, and I feel that this, yeah, and they put it kind of put it bluntly, because we have a very open conversation, open dialogue, and everything, and they said that this is what's happening with the movement to have transitioning men compete in female sports is doing more harm for the community, the trans gay community, than it is helping. Because you have because a lot of these people aren't fighting for this. It's a very small percentage, and it goes back to the old saying: one bad apple could spoil a bunch.
Yep.
And I think that's the issue we're living in. You have these sects, SECT, not SEX, of people that are per, being perverse with a specific movement and taking that meaning of a movement and bastardizing it, such as, and this we're not going to go real deep into this. A good example is not only the trans community, but Black Lives Matter.
Oh, there with you. I've had several conversations on that topic, so
But
yeah.
we're not going to go down that road. That rabbit hole will be here for 2 hours talking about that. Um, but it's a small group that's bastardizing a movement for the entire uh, congregation, if I will. Um, and that's the problem. You don't do I feel the super straight thing is justified? Yes. Do I agree with it? Basically, yes. Do I think it's idiotic? Yes. I think it's stupid that you have to have something like that to defend yourself. That it's had to go that far. And I mean, that's like the question I'm going to ask you, Eric. If there was 100 dicks on the wall, how many would you choke on?
None.
So you're a pro.
Nope. Oh God. Damn it!
So
I walked
anyway,
into this one.
so I mean, I had to lighten the mood up a little bit because I was getting really serious. But yeah, I mean, I just want to get your quick thoughts, and then we're going to wrap up. So, do you really think that I'm on a realistic train of thought, or do you think I'm way off base with what I've said?
I don't think you're entirely off base. And I've noticed with a lot of these movements in a lot of historical trends, it is really based out of a lot of persecution, a lot of discrimination, a lot of being downtrodden, and all these things. So these people who were unjustly persecuted, some of them, not all, some of them just out of their history, out of their culture, out of what makes them them, they want to get a chance to turn the tables whenever they can. Two wrongs in that sense don't make it right. Does it make it even? Three wrongs could potentially make it right, but that's a whole other story. So that's where it's bred from. And the fact that all the teachings of, oh, educate, be the bigger person, all these things, they can kind of come in handy in these instances. To where it's like, just because I've been put down, that I could go ahead and finally put you down and this and that. No, because that just starts escalation, 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 and then where have you really gotten? Whereas if you could take a moment and just understand simply why certain things are, sitting like how we do and how we have and how this podcast started. Sit on down, maybe get inebriated or whatever, have yourself a chat, walk away learning something. Then you wouldn't need something like this. So I do get it. I do think you're on in a lot of ways. That yes, it is unfortunately necessary because of all of our cultural tactics that we've developed over the years and decades and centuries. And I do, like you, think it is incredibly idiotic and is just asking for trouble. But it's things like this that need to open up a lot of different ways and a lot of approaching of things. Again, wrong thing, right reasons.
And with that, I want to say one thing before we do close out. It reminds me of a interview that I seen of a very, very wealthy Middle Eastern man. Um, he said how he views society. He said, "My grandfather grew up riding a camel. My father grew up driving a hand-me-down car. I grew up driving a Range Rover. My son now drives a Range Rover. His son will ride a camel." And they asked why. And he said, "Because a lifestyle of comfort breeds content." And, the interview went on a little bit further, and he broke it down like this: if you're given everything in life, you fail to work for it. And that is a very, very, very good description of society today. We have kids who are drinking $5 coffee on social media on $1,200 phones while driving $60,000 vehicles, talking about how oppressed they are. Contempt breeds this society. And I'll let you have the last word.
It's a lot easier to stare at home plate when you're born on third base.
Okay. Well, with that said, Eric, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, as I mentioned earlier, at Squid Sportshead. Going to be doing some interesting live tweeting. There's a few things that are going to be coming up over the next couple of months. You'll see me peeking on Twitter a lot more. But otherwise, if you're not interested in live tweeting with me, live tweeting sports, you want to talk about other stuff, continue some of the conversation we have tonight, you can also look me up on Facebook. Look up Eric Watkins. You see a guy sitting in a recliner holding a glass of wine next to a laundry, yeah, you've got the right guy. And if you're not looking for anything like that with those particular musings or me starting up all kinds of shit there, you can slide into my DMs and I will grant you access upon proper vetting and verification into my version of the seedier side of things. Not everything like we talked about in our first segment, but you'll be thankful for it. So I'm in a lot of different places. And of course, this plug brought to you by the fine folks at Rick's T&T LLC. Tutoring, notary public, wedding officiating services available in the state of Florida. Tutoring available online.
And I am your host, wrapping everything up, the W2M chairman on Twitter. You can also find me on this past week on the Radledge and Broadcasting Network, where me and Sir Mark Radledge discussed Coming to America sequel that released on Friday. It was a shit show. Definitely, I recommend going to give that show a listen, and definitely not watch the movie. Also, you can find myself, Eric, as well as your host of the kickoff, Harry, and our resident mother killer, aka the Grim Reaper, Kennedy, on the latest episode of the kickoff, where let's just say it was a very interesting thing, and things got a little heated, and and a debate was had, and maybe pipes burst. We'll just leave it at that. So, with that being said, definitely go check out our friend Randy Isabel. You can find him on the R&R Sports Report on Facebook. Uh, do we got anybody else that we want to plug, Eric?
For right now, I think we got our bases covered. Who knows? By next week, that'll change entirely.
All right. With that being said, I'm Jason and Eric. Take care of yourselves.
Take care, go out, do the right thing, do your homework.